There's a strange comfort in doing just enough. Not failing, but not really trying either. Showing up, checking the boxes, staying in the safe zone where no one can accuse you of slacking, but no one will expect greatness from you either. It's the psychological sweet spot of mediocrity. You get to feel productive without risking anything. You tell yourself you're being practical, realistic, efficient, but deep down, you know the truth. You're coasting. And the scary part? After a while, you stop noticing. Mediocrity doesn't announce itself. It just becomes who you are. You adjust your standards, lower your expectations, and call it maturity. But it's not. It's surrender, disguised as wisdom. Malachi walked into a culture that had mastered this exact mindset. The priests were still performing their duties, lighting the fires, offering sacrifices, reciting the prayers. Technically, everything looked fine, but the quality? Non-existent. They were bringing blind, lame, and diseased animals to the altar, not because they couldn't afford better, but because they could get away with it. Why give your best when good enough passes inspection? Why sacrifice the valuable when the worthless still counts? It was efficiency over excellence, compliance over commitment. They weren't abandoning their faith, they were just phoning it in. And somehow they convinced themselves it didn't matter, that God wouldn't notice, or worse, that He didn't care. Malachi didn't let it slide. He called it what it was: contempt. You bring the blind, the lame, the sick, and you think that's acceptable? Try offering that to your governor, see if he's pleased with you. The irony was sharp. They'd never dare insult a human authority with garbage offerings, but God? He'd take whatever. The standard for the sacred had dropped below the standard for the secular, and they didn't even flinch, because mediocrity had become their baseline. They weren't trying to honor something greater, they were trying to satisfy a checklist. And when you reduce devotion to a transaction, you lose the soul of it. You keep the form, but the meaning evaporates. It's not worship anymore. It's autopilot. The cost? Malachi laid it out brutally. I am not pleased with you, and I will accept no offering from your hands. Their efforts, meaningless. Their sacrifices, rejected. The very rituals they were clinging to as proof of their faithfulness were being dismissed as worthless, because God wasn't interested in their leftovers. He never was. The whole point was wholehearted devotion, not minimum viable effort. And when they lost that, they lost everything. The blessings dried up, the influence faded, and worst of all, they became forgettable. Malachi was the last prophet. After him, silence. 4 centuries of it. They didn't get abandoned because they stopped showing up. They got abandoned because they stopped caring. And apparently, so did heaven. Here's the psychology. When you normalize cutting corners, you don't just lower your output, you rewire your identity. Your brain starts to believe that good enough is who you are, not what you're doing in this moment, but who you fundamentally are. And once that belief sets in, it's incredibly hard to break. You stop aiming higher because you've convinced yourself you're not capable of higher. The priests in Malachi's time didn't wake up one day and decide to be mediocre. They drifted there one lazy decision at a time, and by the time they realized what they'd lost, the pattern was set. Mediocrity isn't a choice you make once, it's 1,000 small compromises that eventually define you.
So, here's the question. What are you offering? To the life you say you want? Are you bringing your best, or are you bringing the leftovers, the stuff that's easy, convenient, low risk? Because here's the thing. You can coast for a long time. You can show up, check the boxes, and never get called out. But coasting doesn't take you anywhere. It just keeps you in motion, while everything meaningful slips past. The people in Malachi's story lost their future not because they stopped trying, but because they stopped caring about the quality of their effort, and by the time they realized it mattered, the door had already closed. Don't let good enough become your ceiling.